Well, good evening. Welcome to a special edition of the Willie Lawson Show. We are here. There you go. We're here to start something new, possibly. It depends on how it catches on. There wasn't any advertising. There wasn't any promotion. But we're going to start doing an evening program that approaches some different subjects, some different subjects, but basically it could be a continuation of what we normally do during the day. But tonight, when I got home, I was thinking about, will we fight back? Will conservatives fight back? I was having a conversation with somebody I work with today, and we're talking about the PC world that we live in the world of social justice and social justice warriors. And he said to me, well, that's just what we live in today. And I was able to hip him to a couple of people that, you know what, are fighting back. So, you know what, that may be, I said to him, you know what, that may be true, but what's different now is that there are people who are fighting back. There are people who are saying, you know what, enough is enough. Enough of the false narratives that take over the conversation, and that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with any number of false narratives that take over the conversation. Wage gap, rape culture, any number of narratives that take over the conversation that are false narratives with really no basis in truth, no statistical proof of any of these things actually happening. But they've taken over the narrative, and they've become like these things that you just say, and people believe that they're true. Factoids. You know what? It's interesting. A long time ago, I was reading the USA Today paper, and they had these things, a little feature that they used to do called factoids. And then one of the factoids had the definition of factoid: a brief or trivial item of news or information, an assumption or speculation that is reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact. You hear what I said? Because here's what we're inundated with. Inundated with factoid. An assumption or speculation that is reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact. Just because people keep saying it. And I have said this on this show, I don't know, 1,000 times. Because I think I see at least one episode. That what's impressive about the left is that they'll just keep saying it. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be close. It doesn't have to be close. But they'll keep saying it. One of the things that they'll keep saying is that we have a rape culture on college and university campuses. Now, the crazy part is, if that were true, then it would be an incredible indictment on the left, because it is true that the left has controlled colleges and universities in this country for the past 50 years. They have taken over in not just the role of professors, but in administrators, and every single solitary aspect of university life has, for the past 50 years, have been taken over by the left. So if the left is, in charge of these universities where this rape culture is going on, then it is them that is to be indicted, if indeed this was going on. And the numbers that you hear that 1 in 5 women or 1 in 4 women at some point in their college career are going to be raped. They're going to be sexually assaulted during their time in a college or university. Now, we keep hearing that again and again and again and again and again, and people keep saying it. Now, we were listening to, my son and I were on our way to church, we were listening to a sports program. We were listening to Jay Moore Sports. And there was an incident at Baylor where the coach got fired because one of the players had apparently sexually assaulted some girl on campus. Terrible. And I'm not now stop before you get your panties in a twist. I'm not lessening any of whatever he's accused of. And if for some reason that he's found guilty of sexual assault, then he needs to pay the penalty. He needs to pay the cost. Now, I'm not really understanding, other than a PR move from Baylor, how firing the football coach because one of your idiots went off and did something idiotic and did something terrible. Why firing the coach is a good idea. I don't understand. I don't understand what kind of signal that sends, because you know what happens? You know, someone's going to say, listen, these aren't high school kids. I can't lock them up. These are grown-ass people. Everybody here on my team is 18 and above. They're all adults. I can't lock them up somewhere. We can't put them in jail every night and then let them out to go to class and to go to games. It doesn't work that way. So I don't understand how firing the coach makes this difference. I don't understand how firing a university president makes a difference here. And this is one of the things that Jay Moore was screaming for. As he said in his statistics, he kept saying that 1 out of 4 women during their time at university would be sexually assaulted. Well, that's 25%. That's 1 in 4. If you see any picture of any college or university and people going to class, and you see 4 women, at least one of them will be sexually assaulted during their time in college. Okay, now listen how this makes no sense in a couple of ways. If this were true, what good parent, knowing this to be true, would send their young daughter off to a college or university in this country, knowing that there's a 25% chance that she is going to be sexually assaulted in her time there? Who would do that? Who would do that? If your kid had a 1 in 4 chance of being killed in an automobile accident, you would never let them drive. You just wouldn't do it. So these numbers that they keep stating, you know what, in common sense terms, don't make any sense. Now, in realistic terms, this particular, let me turn the chat room on, and this particular statistic doesn't make any sense, because if you, again, all you got to do is look at, you know what, we were talking to the radio, which is just the stupidest thing. But, you know, if you'd have just clicked twice more, Jay Moore, if you'd done it twice more, what you'd have, at this particular study, asked some pretty vague questions about sexual assault, and had to do with 2 schools. 2 schools. Not, you know, I mean, this survey that was sent out was for 2 schools. Asked some pretty vague questions, and now people are using this particular survey as evidence that there is a rape culture on college and university campuses in America. And even the people who did the study, the survey, say there isn't any way that anybody can use this particular survey to support those numbers. So this is patently false. But it's become a factoid. People keep saying it. The president said it. Joe Biden said it. Jay Moore of Jay Moore Sports on Fox News, on Fox Sports said it, and people keep saying it. You know what? Feminists and social justice warriors keep saying it. You know what? So you have the vintage media keep saying it. They say it so much to where people think it's true. And it's not even close to being true. It's not even close to being true. The real number, as horrific as it is, now I don't want you to get stupid on me, as horrific as it is, the real number is 1 in 52. As terrible and horrible as that is, as terrifying as that is, frankly, if I had a young girl and if I had a young daughter and I was sending her off to college and I knew that there was a 1 in 52 chance that she may be sexually assaulted in her 4 years at university, I would try my best to make sure that she spent as little time away from home as I could possibly manage as a father. You know what? And I mean, well, maybe she doesn't go away to school. Maybe she goes to the local college or university and lives at home, so she doesn't stay on campus, so she doesn't stay in an apartment somewhere. Even if I knew there was a 1 in 52 chance, I would try my best to make those. I mean, those aren't good enough odds for me for my daughter. That's 1 in 52 is not good enough. And that's the real number. That's how horrible I think that is. The real number is 1 in 52, and that's not good enough. Not good enough. But 1 in 4, what that does is that sends out the signal of this is a lie. So if people figure out that the 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 number that keeps getting bantied about is actually a lie, what else about what you're talking about isn't true? Then what else? And because people will think, well, they lied about this, well, maybe they're lying about something else. So guess what? You have actually put women, young women, in more danger by telling a lie and spreading and continuing to spread this lie than if you would just told the truth to start with. I think it's pretty easy to convince anybody that if there's a 1 in 52 chance that a young woman would be sexually assaulted while away at school, that would be horrifying enough. You wouldn't have to exaggerate that statistic 1 iota to horrify people. You wouldn't have to. You might even get people to believe that there's a rape culture on campus. You might even get them to believe that, although there is no such thing, by using real numbers, by dealing in truth instead of exaggeration, hyperbole, and lies. This idea that they continue to use exaggeration, hyperbole, and lies pretty much undermines whatever good may come out of this. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't about people trying to do good. This is about people trying to destroy our system, trying to burn it to the ground. That's what this is about. This isn't about anything else. This isn't about anything else. This is about people trying to burn the system to the ground because they think, or they've been told or taught, that the system is corrupt, that it is aimed against them somehow. And the fact of the matter is that it isn't aimed against them at all, and they have fallen victim to the exaggerations, hyperbole, and the lies of the left and the leftists and those that would destroy this country, that would destroy America, and make it a non-entity on the global scale, to bring it down to the very same level as Namibia or some other country, because here in America we don't even have a culture that matters. If you ask someone at a college or university what's American culture, they'll tell you America doesn't have a culture. There is no American culture. However, if you ask somebody from around the world what American culture is, they'll tell you that American culture is about freedom, it's about liberty, it's about self-determination. They'll tell you it's about ingenuity. They'll tell you what American culture is all about. And what they won't mention is that American culture is about slavery. They won't tell you it's about racism and bigotry. The rest of the world doesn't look at America that way. The rest of the world looks at America the way I described. Americans are ingenious and industrious. They value freedom. They value liberty. They value free speech. America is still a place around the world where you can come and be anything you want to be. Anything that you are willing to work for in America, you could be and you can have. That's what American culture is around the world. Now, the spoiled children, the spoiled brats who live here and their wannabe hippie teachers are spreading the exaggerations, hyperbole, and lies that American culture is about bigotry. It's about misogynist. It's about misogyny. It's about racism. It's about a dominant patriarchy. When the fact of the matter is, it's not about any of that stuff. It just isn't. Now you can say it is all you want, and that's one of the tools of the left. Just keep saying it and create a factoid. It's an assumption or a suggestion that gets reported enough times until people start accepting it as fact. And it's just not true. One of those things, again, is this supposed wage gap. That women earn 73 cents or 77 cents for every dollar a man earns. And that's just not true. But you know what? Enough people keep saying it, and you keep seeing it on television, in vintage media, on TV. You keep hearing it on the radio. But the fact of the matter is that it's not true. It isn't true. And again, these people do women, these so-called feminists do women a horrific disservice by trying to champion their cause using exaggerations, hyperbole, and lies. Listen, if you've got to use exaggerations, hyperbole, and lies to defend me, please don't defend me. Because what you're doing is building a house of cards that eventually is going to fall on my ass. Thank you so much. Don't do it. If I can't convince people to my cause using truth, then that's on me, isn't it? There isn't any reason, frankly, to try to convince people that women are suffering in this country, especially in this wage gap, because it's not true. So let's talk about the wage gap for just a second here. The wage gap doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist for any number of reasons. What some people have done in one survey is taken all the women that work full-time and all the men that work full-time in America and divided it by a number of people, and they found out that men earn, for every dollar a man earns, a woman earns 77 cents. But what these people don't say is that men work more hours. So you have this big group of men who at least all work full-time, but a lot of them work more than full-time. They don't work just 40 hours. They may work 50, 55, 60 hours a week, because men are more likely to do that, especially in the how we have families now. Men are more likely to spend more time at work. Well, while women make other choices. Did you hear what I said? The important word there was choices. While women make different choices, men are more likely to choose to stay at work. Men are more likely to choose to go in on the weekends, more likely to go in late night or stay in late night than women are. By choice. And I'll tell you that I know that my wife sometimes has to make the choice to go in and work on a Saturday. So when I say this this doesn't, don't get your panties in a twist or your liver in a quiver, because this is different with a lot of people. This is not the same. There's no painting everybody with a broad brush. My wife sometimes decides that she has to, in order to get all her work done, going on a Saturday, and she works in a regular, quote, 9 to 5 gig at a financial institution. And financial institutions are notorious for being in by 9, out by 5. But because she's in management, sometimes she has to go in on a Saturday. Sometimes. And sometimes when they're getting new computer systems, she's gone in on Sunday after church. So this has nothing to do with women being not being ambitious or wanting to be good employees. This has a lot to do with choices they make. Now, she has women who work for her that have made the choice not to go into management, have made the choice because they don't want to work extra hours. They don't want to have to come in on a Saturday. They don't want to have to come in on a Sunday because they choose, listen, it's the choosing that makes a lot of the difference. They choose to. This particular company that my wife works for has more women in management positions than men. So there is opportunity. So if you come at me like there's no opportunity for women there, that's ridiculous. That is insane, because that's not true in this particular case. But a lot of women decide, they make the decision that they're not going to. They're not going to. And a lot of women around the country make the decision, enough to skew the numbers, that they're not going to go into management. They're not, because they don't want to work extra hours. They'd rather do something else. They'd rather be home with their family. They'd rather start a family. I was listening to Ben Shapiro today, and his wife took off a year of medical school to start their family. And even in the same fields, if you use like medicine, for example, you'll find that men are more likely to choose things like cardiology and neurology, and women are more likely to choose general practice. They're more likely to choose pediatrics. Have you noticed that there are more OB/GYN that are men than women? Have you noticed that? Why? I don't know. But they're more likely to get into those specialties that make more money. This sort of overarching, men make more money because of this patriarchal system is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's an exaggeration. It's hyperbole, and it's a lie. If you look at the school system, for example, I spent 15 years working in the school system, and what you'll find in the school system is that there are so many women in what we can call middle and upper management, that by average women do a lot better than men. They do a lot better than men in education. They do a lot better. They stay in the job longer because there's a security there. Men are more likely, because the male brain is different than the female brain, are more likely to take a risk. Women are looking for security, so they are more likely to stay in a job like teaching a lot longer than a guy who may teach for 5 or 6 years and then find an opportunity and go off and do something else. So you have a lot of men in teaching who, for the most part, that haven't been teaching as long, so they haven't gotten to the ranks of principal. Most elementary school principals and assistant principals are women. I think probably if you look at middle schools, it's about 50-50. But on most campuses, especially elementary schools, and there are more elementary schools than anything, everywhere, more women are in that profession than men because they choose to, not because there's some social construct that forces them, this big invisible hand that forces women into the school of education and not into the school of engineering. That's not happening. That doesn't even make sense to you, does it? Why? Because it's something that's ate up with a dumbass. Of course it doesn't make any sense because it's stupid. There's no big invisible hand snatching women out of STEM and shoving them into education and shoving them into hospitality professions. That's not what's happening. As a matter of fact, it's easier now for a girl or a young woman to get into a STEM program because these programs are actively seeking out women. And they're not actively seeking out boys and young men. As a matter of fact, it is easier for a young woman or a girl to get involved in a STEM program than it is a boy or a young man, because these programs are actively seeking out young girls. You know, there was a STEM workshop, exhibition or whatever at the White House, specifically for girls and minorities. They might as well had a sign up that said no white boys allowed. They might as well have a sign that said no white boys allowed. It was specifically for girls and minorities. They got to present these projects at the White House. How cool that must have been for the kids. It was specifically for girls and minorities. No white boys allowed. So it's easier now. It's easier for girls to get involved in the STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, for those of you who aren't up on all the acronyms, than ever before. And even with all of this, girls are just choosing not to. They'd rather do other stuff. Again, the big word is choose. Because if you listen to the left, if you listen to feminists, it's about women having choices, it's about girls having choices. Now, except when they choose something that the feminists don't want them to choose. When the girl goes to college to say, you know what, why am I going to college? I'm going to college to be in an environment. You remember this article came out in one of the big magazines that this woman went to college to find a husband because she wanted to be in an environment where she found a husband who was educated, and she found a husband who was motivated, and she found a husband who was headed on a path of success. And she thought the best place to find that guy was in a college or university. That's where they all were, in her mind. A guy who had some earning potential, who could provide her with a lifestyle and the security that she wanted. That was her choice. And boy, that woman, I forget her name, she caught hell. From who? Men? No. She caught hell from feminists. Because she had chosen to make a choice. She had made a choice, but it wasn't the choice that the left and feminists wanted her to make. And they damn sure didn't want her to make it out loud. They didn't want her to make this choice out loud so we could all see and hear it. And let other young women get the idea in their head that they could make a similar choice, that it was okay to make a similar choice. That if what they really wanted in their life was to be a wife and a mother, if that was their choice, that was okay. This whole idea that the feminists are teaching young girls, you can be anything you want to be. You can be anything you want to be. You can be a president. You can be an astronaut. You can be an engineer. You can be a scientist. You can be an athlete. You can be whatever you want to be, except a wife and a mother. We won't allow that. We will shame you if you choose wife and mother. That's what we're up against. That is what we're up against. These feminists and social justice warriors want to burn down the system that we're in now, with no regard of what may replace it, with no regard of what might replace it. It's absolutely maddening. But you know what's good? Good is it seems like now we might actually have people to fight back. And as these shows go on, I'm going to bring in clips from people like Steven Crowder, people like Milo Yiannopoulos, people like Ben Shapiro, some other folks who are standing up against social justice warriors, Bill Whittle, and bring these clips to you and bring these voices to you because I think it's important that you hear them. And you can be encouraged by them and you can share these with your friends. Now, this show right now that I'm doing now has gone a little long. I did not expect it to go for 45 minutes. These shows will normally be somewhere between 15 minutes and a half hour, so you can easily listen to them. 15 minutes so you can easily download it onto a device, an iPad or your phone or whatever, and easily share them and email them to your friends. I want this to be something that you can listen to quickly in the car. I want it to be something that you can share with your friends. Like I said, you can share with your friends. So you too can stand up and you too can fight back with facts. You can fight back. You don't have to just get run over with the nonsense, with the exaggerations, the hyperbole, and the outright frickin' lies of the left. You don't have to. You can stop the factoids. You can spread the cleansing disinfectant of truth and kill the factoid. If it's not a fact, if it's not real, if there isn't any evidence, then it should be destroyed. Especially if people are using it as a basis for their argument, as their basis for changing policy, as their basis for changing the social construction of America and our system of government, based on lies, based on hyperbole, and based on exaggerations. It's time to fight back. You know what? Are we going to fight back and save the Republic? Are we going to cower in the corner, afraid of saying the wrong thing? In New York, there are restaurants that can be fined if they use the wrong pronoun on a customer. So if you say something like, if this woman is dressed like a man because she is now living her life as a man, but you've noticed that it's really a woman, and you say, right this way, ladies, you could be fined. As a matter of fact, you could even be jailed. If it's up to New York City government, you can actually be jailed for using the wrong pronoun. Jailed. You could lose your freedom for using the wrong pronoun. I hear all the time, the pendulum on these things swings back and forth, and they always swing back. But you know what? The pendulum will not swing back until some force is acted upon it. there'll be a full circle until some forces act on it. So whenever you have a pendulum like in a clock that swings back and forth, when it goes up so far, what actually pulls it back to the other direction? There's a force that pulls it back. And eventually, that same force will stop it from moving entirely. We have got to be the gravity, because we're based in truth, the gravity that stops ridiculous pendulum that swings back and forth to the levels of ridiculousness, both ripping at the very fabric of our nation. We have got to break the cycle of this PC culture, these social justice warriors that would destroy us if left to their own devices. It's time. And know there's a place where you can get informed. Now, I have found a Facebook page, and I'll give you the title of this Facebook page. Give me just a second here. Oh, good God, my nephew. It's called SJW Re-Education Camp. SJW Re-Education Camp. Now, the purpose of the SJW Re-Education Camp is to reintroduce people that have been indoctrinated in American colleges and universities, and reintroduce them to truth, to the concept of free speech. That's what we're doing. Let me read it. The Social Justice Warrior Re-Education Camp is designed to reintroduce those that have been indoctrinated by colleges and universities. It is to reintroduce them to the truth. It is to reintroduce them to the concept of free speech. The idea that other people have a right to speak, even if they speak something that you disagree with or that you don't like. And what you'll find on that Facebook page is what you'll find is all sorts of, frankly, offensive videos for the most part, and statements for the most part, from people like Milo Yiannopoulos, and Stephen Crowder, Ben Shapiro. You're going to hear a lot about this. I'm just looking at an article from the FederalistPapers.com that some colleges are sending their white students to, quote, re-education camps so they can find a way to check their white privilege. And we will definitely talk about that when I see you again here on the evening show of the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you.